No mere man, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we saw his glory, glory as of the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth. John 1:14. The one who is the object of our love was born contrary to the laws of nature, was reared in obscurity, lived in poverty, and only once crossed the boundary of the land in which he was born, and that was in his childhood. He had no wealth or influence and had neither training nor education in the world's schools. His relatives were inconspicuous and uninfluential. In infancy, he startled a king. In boyhood, he puzzled learned doctors. In manhood, he ruled the course of nature. He walked upon the billows and hushed the sea to sleep. He healed the multitudes without medicine and made no charge for his services. He never wrote a book, yet if everything he did were written in detail, the world itself couldn't contain the books that would be written. He never founded a college, yet all the schools together cannot boast of as many students as he has. He never practiced medicine, yet he has healed more broken hearts than doctors have healed broken bodies. Throughout history, great men have come and gone, yet he lives on. Herod could not kill him. Satan could not seduce him. Death could not destroy him, and the grave could not hold him. But when the question is raised about who Jesus Christ really was, the debate continues to rage on as it has for nearly 2,000 years. Cults and skeptics offer various explanations. Some say he was a religious fanatic, a fake, or a political revolutionary. Others say he was just a good teacher. Still others take an entirely different approach, saying he was the highest form of mankind, possessing a spark of divinity that he fanned into flame. A spark, they claim, we all have, but seldom fan. Then there are those who believe him to be one of many gods, a created being, a high angel, or a prophet. The common thread of these countless human explanations is that they make Jesus less than God. Only God can tell us who he really was and is. The biblical evidence contained in two passages, one written by the Apostle Paul to a group of believers in Colossae, see Curl 1:15-1:9. The other written by an unknown author to Jewish believers and unbelievers, see Heb 1:1-3, offers us an overwhelming picture of the deity of Christ. Taken together, they leave no doubt that the man named Jesus, born of a virgin, was the incarnation of God, and thus is worthy of our love and devotion. Both the Apostle Paul and the writer of Hebrews had specific goals in mind in declaring the deity of Christ. In the church at Colossae, Paul had to counteract the influence of what came to be known as Gnosticism. Its adherents fancied themselves as having privileged access to some elevated mysteries they believed were truths so complex that common people couldn't understand them. They taught a form of philosophic dualism, postulating that spirit was good and matter was evil. They believe that because God is spirit, he is good, but that he could never touch matter, which is evil. Therefore, they also concluded that God couldn't be the creator of the physical universe, because if God made matter, he would be responsible for evil. And they taught that God could never become a man, because as a man, he would have to dwell in a body made of evil matter. So they explained away the incarnation by claiming that Jesus was a good angel whose body was only an illusion. But the Apostle Paul said, he is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He is also head of the body, the church, and he is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, so that he himself will come to have first place in everything. For it was the Father's good pleasure for all the fullness to dwell in him. Carlos 1:15-1:9. Paul specifically affirms Jesus as God in the flesh, the creator of everything. The writer of Hebrews, in contrast, was writing to Jews, some of whom did not believe Jesus to be the Messiah. In addition to affirming to Jewish believers the deity of Christ, he was trying to convince the unbelievers among them of Christ's superiority, his preeminence over any Old Testament person, institution, ritual, or sacrifice. The first 3 verses of chapter 1 are a summary of his entire epistle, weaving into a few brief words the superiority of Christ. God, after he spoke long ago to the fathers and the prophets in many portions and in many ways, in these last days has spoken to us in his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, through whom also he made the world. And he is the radiance of his glory and the exact representation of his nature, and upholds all things by the word of his power. Hebrews 1:1-3. Jesus was no mere man. Those 2 passages declare that he was and is the preeminent. 1, the climax of God's revelation. Jesus Christ is the full representation of, and the human expression of God, superior to and exalted above anyone or anything. If we are ever to return to our first love, we must base our relationship with him on that irrefutable fact. What should our response be to these glorious truths? Puritan John Owen astutely observed, the revelation made of Christ in the blessed gospel is far more excellent, more glorious, more filled with rays of divine wisdom and goodness than the whole creation, and the just comprehension of it, if attainable, can contain or afford. Without this knowledge, the mind of man, however priding itself in other inventions and discoveries, is wrapped up in darkness and confusion. This therefore deserves the severest of our thoughts, the best of our meditations, and our utmost diligence in them. For if our future blessedness shall consist in living where he is and beholding of his glory, what better preparation can there be for it than a constant previous contemplation of that glory as revealed in the gospel, that by a view of it we may be gradually transformed into the same glory? Daily challenge. Over the next 2 days, we will continue, with the help of the Apostle Paul and the author of Hebrews, to delve into the absolute supremacy of Jesus. Open yourself willingly to absorb his glory as God's word reveals our beloved and exalted Christ. And may you be transformed by the encounter.